We're going to go ahead and get started. Calling this meeting to order at 5:02. We'll go through our opening procedures. We don't have any kids to lead us in the pledge. Should we do it ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to imagine the flag out front.
The flagpole.
Flagpole. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item F2, looking to approve the agenda. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Irwin, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Joseph. Discussion.
I am requesting we pull item 3A from the agenda. There is backup information we did not receive from the submission.
Okay. With that adjustment, removal of 3A. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved as presented with that one adjustment. Public comment, persons desiring to address the board on matters not on the agenda. We have no hands. We will move on to district reports, starting with a finance update. It's early in the year, but we continue to be very vigilant about the finances. We will be looking at the next data point for the budget is when? September 15th, closing the books. Okay, an October board meeting for the. Okay, very good. So we'll be watching the financial reports September 15th, closing the books, and then moving towards the October board meeting for an update there. Employee organizations report. I think we're going to hear from KTA first. Yeah. And then KSD.
I think everybody in the room knows me, but this is my favorite part. Hi, everybody. I'm Warren Gills. It's my pleasure and honor to be the president of the Kentfield Teachers Association. It's nice to see you all. Welcome. Optimism. Hi, Silver. Optimism. That's the prevailing sense I have today. As we kick off the 2023-2024 school year, we each return a year wiser and a year more refined in our intertwining roles in the Kentfield School District. Now more than ever, we're well tooled to be supportive of our students in more ways. Our teachers have already been diving into professional developments to be more skilled with teaching phonics, to be more purposeful and transparent with sharing growth in academics and study skills with students. And teachers are piloting new programs with an eye for improving our responsiveness to diverse academic needs in mathematics. Teachers continue to refine and build a repertoire of strategies for maximizing inclusiveness, responsiveness, and differentiation to meet the needs of all of our Kentfield students. I'm very hopeful that the teacher evaluation pilot that we collaborated on last year will be a more effective tool for promoting teachers' growth and development of new and better practices in the classroom. Grant and I had a conversation last week that hit upon an important observation that we had both made recently. We're all reflecting on these past few years and making purposeful efforts to work with our students and each other to recalibrate. We're recalibrating with our students, their families, and ourselves to the demands and expectations of our social and academic responsibilities, much of which has changed or been lost altogether these last few years. As a result, we're seeing a shift back towards many of the norms that we may have taken for granted before 2020. Our site leadership has been essential in working this shift so effectively. Maria and now Cass' leadership at Basich, as well as the continuity of Grant and Wendy at Kent, will be instrumental in continuing the process of reinstilling the high expectations we've traditionally held to ourselves and to our students in our school district. Much appreciation goes to KSD, our partners who make every single day work. We are fortunate to have Raquel and our 5 trustees who give so much of yourselves to support our students, teachers, and professionals at our school sites. I'm very optimistic. As a side note, I'd like to say good luck to anybody in the room to have the ovation that Cass had at our development 2 weeks ago. Your friends and allies from both campuses were thrilled. We're lucky to have you, Basic is lucky to have you and Maria at the helm. So on behalf of the nearly 80 certificated teachers, the Kentville Teachers Association, I wish us all the best of luck as we dive in, recalibrate, and once again, give our personal best. We will all continue to work tirelessly to be the best that we can be, so that our students have the opportunity to be the best that they can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. You're always a tough act to follow. Not as popular as like the spring showcase. I want to say welcome to everyone. Welcomes are important to all of us, and that's what we are about. The classified staff offers a warm welcome to everyone. Welcome back to school. Welcome back to our new programs. Welcome to new friends and to our well-known colleagues. For our students, their first encounter with the Kentfield School District grown-up is most likely a member of the class. A few examples, but not the only examples. Francisco, he greets our students as a crossing guard, leading us across McAllister safely every morning. Jackson and Alma, our new food support services people, are here in the morning, making sure that our students who want breakfast have the opportunity to get breakfast. They're great to have around. We even have guard supervision with one of our brand new paraprofessionals in the morning on the playground. We welcome our students into the classrooms. We welcome them at recess. We encourage them to try new games. We welcome students into the office when they have bumps and bruises and scrapes. And we welcome into the office even when they get into scrapes. The students, we hope feel safe and supported, and of course, welcome. The Kentfield staff, all of us, are learners, both children and adults. We all learn from one another. Our certificated staff, the Kentfield Teachers Association, has supported and welcomed the classified staff, and we participate in all areas of learning. They share pointers that they have had the opportunity to learn at professional development courses. We've been able to join and learn about the new toolbox program, and we work alongside our teaching partners, and now we're learning all about this new literacy program and have the opportunity to have the paraprofessionals really break down and learn a lot more about how to support our students, especially in that really critical win time that we've identified, which means what we have. The paraprofessionals really are an instrumental part of keeping that program as rich and full as it is. Why do we do this? What is our obligation to return to this district each year? We're not like pro athletes that have a contract that specifies the length of time we come to Kentfield and spend time with your students. We don't receive tenure in our positions like the teaching staff does, but we return because we truly enjoy welcoming our learners. We have many classified staff members who have been here for more than a decade, and of those, we have some who've been here 2 decades. And why do we keep coming back? Because we feel supported, and we feel recognized, and we feel integral to all of the learning processes, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom, or even in the community. When one of them comes up to you in line at one of my stones buying coffee and says, "Hey, Mrs. Harris, that's a pretty big coffee." It is. Part of our district's mission is to attract and develop and retain a diverse and well-trained classified staff. We are part of that mission. We are all working toward that goal, and we all happily embrace the steps and processes which will ensure the Kentfield School District achieves that goal. Welcome back to school.
Thank you, Gretchen. I think we do not have Kick here tonight. Is that right?
No, they said they didn't have anything to report, but we'll be at the September meeting.
Excellent. And we do have KSD.
Or,
Oh, no, PTA.
KSPTA.
Seeing Gretchen. Professional hazard.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us here tonight. Michelle, Rao and I are here to introduce ourselves and the KSPTA. as we embark on our 2023 and 24 school year. Together, we're co-presidents, that will be working across both schools. We have 3 kids between the 2 of us across 3 grades here at Kent. Elise Round in 6th grade, my son Matthew Kudos in 7th, and Karen House. With that being said, we're really committed and know the closest 1 in the 5th, so, maybe pass have to get used to see our faces, but we're very committed to spending time in that face starting tomorrow night. We've both been on the PTA board for several years in various posts, and look forward to, bringing that experience together. We're also personal friends, so time as we go through this year. And already there's so much energy on campus that we feel that from commencement of last week. Leading up to start of school, we've been busy with the KSD team. We hosted a bunch of back-to-school activities, provided breakfast for the KSD welcome back on August 17th, and it was great to see all the staff come. I think they look forward to food and little, excited on that morning. We also hosted the TK and New Family Social. That was on August 22nd, and we hosted coffee socials for both schools last week. Upcoming, we have Friday, September 8th, our first general meeting in the Basic Ideas Studio, so we're looking forward to that. And we'll alternate those meetings, our general meetings, every month at both schools, and that calendar will now look to put on brightly and get that update for everyone to see. We will also be hosting the Basic family pizza night. So pizza and games night, which is always very well received. I think we're going to knock out here with 375 families. So we'll be in the Basic Community Center from 5:30 to 7:30. And again, all these will be posted on the site. We'll make sure to put all the district calendars as well. So the admission is free, and that evening, as a free tradition, we'll have bingo, shaver games, there's a magician, a hip hop instructor, making, and there is a complete pizza dinner offer for those who like to purchase food. And it was the same last year, but a little bit more than convenient. On September 27th, we'll be going down Wednesday, September 27th at 9:10 in the morning here in the Kent Library. We'll have a, which is really known nationally, which is a speaker, Phyllis Pagel, who wrote the book Middle School Matters, is about to launch, I think, should I get on tour for her second book, which is Middle School Superpowers. It's actually a great read.
I just ordered it.
Yeah, that's what it's on. So she's an author and a speaker, and she will be coming here to speak with our community, Basic and Kent, and any others and stuff that would like to come. And she will be the first in a very nice lineup of parent ed talent that will come to both schools this year.
Thanks, Deb. Hello, I wanted to let you know a little bit about the KSPTA and who we are. This year we are a 14-person board with a nice mix of parents that have kids both at Basic and Kent. We also have over 30 PTA coordinators that help plan various programs and events at both schools. And we also galvanize hundreds of volunteers to be on site helping with lunch and library, art for bears, teacher appreciation breakfasts, class parties, and a lot more. So we're a large group, not just the board, but there are many people out there helping all of us do all these different programs and events. Finally, our budget committee, which Deb and I were part of, we met 3 times this summer to get our budget ready for approval at our first general meeting, which is next Friday. This year, we are proposing to spend over $145,000 to fund a wide variety of programs and community events. And while KIC is definitely the main fundraising arm in our community, we are proud to be able to put these dollars back into programs at our schools. Some of those specifically are after-school sports at Kent, garden revival that we did last year, and maintenance at both the schools, dance instruction in kindergarten, poetry in 4th grade, school dances, the slam program, teacher stipends, materials for woodshop, art, music, maker, library, and soon to come some new spirit. So those are just a few things that, we help fund, and keeps our team busy. And, if there's any questions about PTA, right here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A great start to the year. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
It's great. Moving on to Raquel.
Okay, so, and let me just go up here. So, I have some quick updates. I can't believe we're back here another new school year, so, stuff I want to hit on is back to school 2023. We had a very lively start, and today was day 3, so, just excited to share some updates. Enrollment and staffing and how that's been going, update on universal meals, our NSLP program, facilities, just where we landed with the needs assessment and the next steps with Damian Lee, Great Stone West, and then just other areas of interest that have come up that I just want to highlight briefly, and then I'll hand it over to our principal. So the first thing is the welcome back. So you heard Deb and Michelle mention the back to school on the 17th. But even before that, up in the top corner, we had our administrative retreat where we got to welcome Cass Walsh as our newest member of our admin team. And so we came together as a group and did some just connecting over story and over games, and then went over some protocols and procedures for the school year. We then led into our all staff welcome back, which was really, really positive. We had a beautiful breakfast that was available for our staff, introduced all of our new staff members. There was a lot of cheers and excitement from welcoming new people to winning raffle things. So it was a really great opportunity to come together as a group. Then the sites actually went back to, the staff went back to their sites to have staff meetings in the afternoon, have lunch, and then a staff meeting in the afternoon. And you'll see, I think the connector for the Basic team was all about these bracelets. And I was fortunate enough to get one that says nuts on it, and that has 2 meanings. I won't go into that now, but that was one amazing connection activity that they did over at Basic. And then I got to hear from our KTA reps, David and I, about the STEM competition that happened over at Kent. And one of the teachers was super excited to have won that competition that was connected directly to the standards-based feedback rubrics. So just really great ways to bring our staffs back together. And then the teams went into some professional development the next couple of days. And then we had the teacher work days. And during those teacher work days, we had orientations. You could hear loud music and excitement here for the 5th grade orientation, the new family welcome that the KSPTA hosted over at Basage, the coffees that also happened on the first day of school and the second day of school. And then we had the assemblies, right? So there was an assembly on Friday at Basage. There was, I think it was the first day of school assembly at Kent, setting the tone for the students. And then there also was the teaching and learning, right? So just lots happening in, the days that led up to our first 3 days of school. And I just want to extend absolute appreciation for our site-based team, as well as for all of the behind the scenes, our district office team that is supporting our sites to have what they need. Just, the students have been super positive. There's been a lot of joy, a lot of enthusiasm. As Warren was saying and using the word optimism, it's really great to be in this space, to be at a place where, people are optimistic, and it's not like, anyways, I'm not going to jinx it, but so we're in a good spot. So happy to say that. And then we had our first newsletter go out last night. So, and that was the JPEG that we used. Fun. Enrollment. So I thought this was really interesting. I'm actually going to stand up so I can, just because I need to stand. What was interesting about this is what I have here for the board to notice is this is enrolled in attendance for day 1. So you'll see there's 2 numbers here, and those 2 numbers represent what's the enrollment and then actual attendance, right? So when you look at that across, you can see I tried to bold it to make it stand out a little bit. I also called that Basic compared to Kent. So at Basic, we have enrolled 538 kids. We actually have 536 kids in attendance on day 1. For Kent, 512, 503 in attendance. Overall, enrolled a little over 1,000, but in attendance, 1,036. what's interesting about that is compared to the June projections,
Mhm.
we weren't that off.
Yeah.
And so, that's just good, and I'm excited to kind of look at that pattern over time to see, because, you plan your staffing around what it looks like in June, did I have a class, do we not? So there's a lot of shuffling that happens during the summer. So I just thought it's important for folks to know, we are fully staffed at this point. I think the positions that are kind of straggling out there are some yard supervision positions. We have an opening, a 0.4 special ed position at Basage, but it's being covered by a extra hire person that's on a leave from another district right now. So I feel good about that. A lot of our districts are still looking for folks. So, just super appreciation to our team for making that all happen. So, next, the food program. So these two pictures, it's like night and day. Like I think I said to Grant, and I'll say it again, it was day one. I walked over and I was like, program really looks legit. We've got real food program. And we do for certain. So this over here is a picture of Jackson, our food service assistant at the breakfast table. And kids coming up, and then here you have, this was day two. Look at how, doesn't it look amazing? Here's these are all parent volunteers here, right? That's our KSPTA parent volunteer. I have this picture obviously of breakfast, but it's the same thing again. So it just really speaks to the community engagement. One of the big things that I think we experienced today, these boats that the kids have are essential, right? So we want to be sure we always have those. So there's little tweaks that we need to continue to work on, but overall, it's been going as much smoother than last year. So right now, in terms of participation, for breakfast, an average of about 27 meals over the 3 days, and for lunch, an average of 214. For 10, an average of 20. And for lunch at an average of 190. So I anticipate those numbers, especially for breakfast, to go up. And then lunch, we'll see. We did increase the orders because we'd rather always have more than less. And we did original orders based on last year's numbers. And so what we also did is we had food put at both sites in case we run out. And we did. We ran out of food at Basage 2 days, and we had food back up for us. We had bagels and cream cheese. We have they're available so that we always are sure that we're feeding the students. And then it can't be actually that's next year's, I believe. So I just wanted to kind of give a quick highlight about the program. As I mentioned, the services and inventory, the food gets delivered day of, the lunch gets delivered day of, and then it's the breakfast for the next day. Set up, I think it's a little more cumbersome over at Basage because we don't set up in the community center where the kitchen is. And then that was a big shift that Kent did. So we moved to having the lunch program outside of the and then just the tweaks on the process and how it's going. This to me feels much stronger and just more organized than we were last year. And so, it is really about the plans that that our teams put in place at the sites. All of the forward planning that we had to do to get the program off the ground. So we'll have more information at the next meeting related to just kind of averages and where that goes. It'll be interesting because September, we've shared the menu and the counts that we have right now. We got feedback. We had vegan fried rice a day or so ago and got the feedback, don't get that again, right? So we pulled it from the menu. We can't do anything about it. We have it this Friday, but moving forward, we pulled it. We will have ravioli.
It's on the hot cellar.
Oh, good.
Nice. So, but I just also wanted to take the minute to just acknowledge and appreciate folks. So, during the summer months, we had, I think, weekly meetings, right, Michael, with our food consultant. And this was in July. We started meeting with the food consultant. We did the hiring in June before the team left. And then we hired 2 people. And then one of the people we hired ultimately stepped away. So we had to go back out. And so then we ended up hiring a new person over the summer months. Then we had those meetings that were happening weekly. Jim and Andrew, our technology department, really just continued to support related to the point of sale. That's how we get the reimbursement. So it was really, really important that we had our student information system synced up. And there was frustration because we weren't getting the information we needed right away, or as timely as we wanted. But people were flexible and we continued moving forward, getting the Chromebooks and all the equipment available. Jackson and Alma began training in late July, early August, and they were here for almost every day doing some level of training. And so what was really cool was that on day one, during the assembly, the food inspector showed up. And I happened to be in the kitchen, and or no, actually I was walking along the parking lot and I see somebody at the gate and I was like, well, hi, can I help you? She said, oh, I'm the food inspector. And I thought, oh my God, great, nice to see you. Let's go on in, right? So I walked over to the kitchen. The team was, in the middle of the presentation. So there were 5th and 6th graders in the multi-purpose room. And I was like, can we just assembly? And we couldn't take the window down at that moment. And so she's walking around, she took the temperature and she's writing out. She's like, okay, this is good. And she turns, Jackson's just standing there very quietly. And she says, do you have the certificate? The food handler certificate. And I was like, oh, yes, I have it. I emailed it to myself. So I pulled my phone and he walks over and he's like, it's right here. So then we walk over and she puts up our sign and says we passed with flying colors. So it was really, really great. Surprise visit. And just, again, it just goes to the teams being prepared and ready. And then, both sites just also our parents and the volunteers and the training and all of those pieces. So it's been a strong start for our food program. And I just feel lucky that we'll be able to not have that expense hit our general fund like we did last year. And hopefully it'll continue to just evolve and get better and better. So thank you guys. Yeah, definitely.
Michelle, we both had a lot of experience with the hot lunch over here, discussion van with that program, and it was we volunteered the first 2 days, or I think it's Michelle the first 3 days, and it was really smooth. And on the first day, there was a lot of comments from students. They actually really enjoyed the food. But I think from a parent volunteer perspective, anytime we ask parent or staff member out their busy time to come, they're willing to have the task.
Yeah.
And what was nice, that like all 5 of the parents who came actually had a very dedicated task, so it was very seamless, highly efficient use of their time and the whole experience. So it was really good.
Oh, good. Yeah. I did give feedback that there was a long line on pizza day. I think we heard that earlier. And one of the things my response to that is just really trying to set that tone. Last year, just like to name it, last year, the tone that was set was chaos, right? It was not a positive tone. This year, the tone that was set is like organization, you're going to get fed, you're going to go through and be respectful and appropriate. So it's been really positive.
Yes.
The last thing I wanted to touch on was facilities and finance. So over the summer is the time when we get to do projects related to facilities. And so the fence is up. Somebody said the other day, I didn't even notice it. I didn't even realize. So I think the locksmith was out there because they're working on the locks there. So that's great. All the window coverings, Wendy, I look at you because she was the cheerleader on the window coverings. So we have the window coverings for safety for all of our classrooms and school sites. The clocks, I think were installed today, the new clocks, not yet, but they are going to be. So we have some clock issues. And then our grounds. I don't know if people have noticed, but every time I drive by Basage and I see the plush green, it's not just like a dull soft green, it's like vibrant green. So the grounds look really, really great. Damian Lee and his partner completed the facility needs assessment. The plan is for them to come and report to the board at the September meeting. So they will have information at that time. And their focus was around safe, warm, and dry. So it's just to know that that's still forthcoming. He's going to be meeting with Michael and I just kind of about some of what he's seen. He's shared some information with us preliminarily. And some of the focus areas we know are the generators, the solar, our roofs, the bathrooms, and flooring is something else that I wanted to put in there because there's been some flooring issues that we've had. And so, so those are the big events. So I think that's it for my reports. Yeah.
Well, thanks to everyone for the heavy lifting on getting food off the ground and the year off the ground. And that is a testament to you guys doing a great job hiring and creating a warm, welcome environment for everybody coming in. So that's really well done.
I think one of the things too, and Grant would know this because we were in conversation last spring about the staff. And I was like, no, they're not gonna be there the full day. It'll be like 4 hours or something. And at one point in the summertime, I was like, no, they need to be there the full day. So I think having them the 5 hours for the full duration of the day and with the flexibility of the time. Is really essential to help support, because we want our site teams to be able to address what's happening in terms of teaching and learning and not have to get distracted by the organization program.
Very good.
Okay, so with that said, I think it's on to our second administrators.
Yeah, I think basics first.
See you guys.
See you.
So I just was gonna highlight a few things from our first few days. Raquel addressed some of them, so I will repeat what I have that she already spoke to. But we welcomed 538 new and returning students, which includes 3 newcomers. And we use the word newcomer to refer to a student who is new to the United States, new to English. So those 3 students represent speaking Portuguese and 2 speak Spanish. This is not coming up to students, just speaking with students. So, so we're really excited about that, and just a really fun connection that we have the Portuguese speaking student is a 3rd grader. And we intentionally put her in a 3rd grade class where there is another student who is very proficient in English, but we also have to know that she can trust speaking Portuguese. And the teacher put them next to each other and watched the newcomer in. She was very scared and lost, and she was holding my hand, and we walked to the class, and she sat down, and I introduced her to this other student, and they are fast friends, and they're always together, and we're just so grateful that we can make that connection, and so we're really happy, and we trust that that connection will help this newcomer to pick up with her English development. So just a little anecdotal story. We also have 22 new 1st through 4th graders. So we have 5 in 1st grade, 7 in 2nd grade, 5 in 3rd grade, and 5 in 4th grade. So it's a pretty sizable group of new students in those grades. And our counselor, Sarah Buteran, who students call Miss Sarah, has already made plans for new student scavenger hunt activity, and she's using the students who were new last year as ambassadors to facilitate that scavenger hunt. So over a series of days, they'll kind of get this special activity with Miss Sarah at lunchtime, and be welcomed by students who just were in their position and new to board school last year. The first few weeks of school, we focus on what we call building blocks. We came up with these last year. And so the first few weeks of our win time, the focus is actually on building blocks, which is really all about behavior expectations in different spaces and places on campus. So it's like an extended multi-day tour of our campus. So students go to different spaces with a teacher, walk into the office, and they learn how do we walk into the office, and what level of voice do we use, and do we look first to see if Miss Harris and Miss Peter on the phone, and do we wait, and what do we say? And so they go through these things. They come into my office. Actually, Raquel and I were meeting in my office, and here comes this class of kindergarten. They literally all came. Raquel and I and all these kindergartners, touching things, and they was just really sweet. So we try to, we just call them building blocks, because we're building the expectations, and we're all using the same language, and it's a repeat for students who have been with us before, but they need those reminders. So that's happening over on campus. Miss Sarah has also been visiting all classrooms to introduce herself, to remind students what the function and role of this counselor is, how they can find her, where they can find her. She's setting up a new mailbox system, so if they want to meet with her, they have a video suggestion. So she's hitting the ground running as a new face chair. We have a common lunchtime in our schedule, which is a big undertaking, but it's going really, really well. So as you might remember in the past, first and second graders had a 45-minute lunch, followed by our third and fourth graders, 45-minute lunch. So that 90-minute period of time supported by paraprofessionals. So we have one 45-minute lunch. So third and fourth graders play first and second eat first, and then they switch. Seems simple, right? Well, it's a lot of students to facilitate the movement. So Cass and I, we walked through it, and we planned it out. We met with teachers during work week, and we had a plan with maps, all these things. And so it went pretty well the first day. We made some tweaks, and a lot of it is just, learning a new routine, but it's going very well, and gotten a lot of positive feedback from some of the parent volunteers who are there at lunchtime, at how smoothly it is going and how appreciative they are to have the opportunity to share lunch. So we have parent volunteers who are lunch servers, and we have parent volunteers who are helping to support the lunch supervision while the students are eating. So that's all going really well. Okay. Oh, and the way that we solicited for volunteers, this was an amazing discovery by our newest administrative member of the team, Cass Walsh. Parent Square has a volunteer function. And so, in the past, we've done like sign-up geniuses, we've had Carline coordinators for each class, who then we have to make all these schedules and all this stuff. So instead, we discovered that because the Parent Square, we can just message the whole community with a sign-up that's in Parent Square, that's translated in their language. And so we just put the all call out for the first couple of weeks for Carline, and the first few weeks for lunch. And so we're going to just continue to use this on a monthly basis, rolling out for volunteers, and it spots fill up, and it's pretty easy. So we're really thrilled. Today was picture day, so we had a successful picture day. With the individual pictures, they come back in January to do the group class pictures. And we'll get the IDs cards coming tomorrow, which is part of we use those for our safety protocols in backpacks, so those will come tomorrow. KSPTA spoke to some of the successful, the new family welcome and our TK back to school nights, the first and fourth back to school night tomorrow. So just a real positive launch, and I love the word optimism that Warren shared. I also, my bracelet, which wasn't specifically made for me, says joy, and that word just really resonates with me as I think about the launch this year. So the other things I just wanted to quickly kind of highlight was around professional development. With some summer professional development, as well as work during the work week, that week of the 17th, before students came. So many of our teachers attended a 2-day Marin County Office of Education Summer Reading Institute. We actually had at least one teacher attend from each grade level, and in some cases, multiple teachers at a grade level attend this summer institute. It was a 2-day institute focused all around reading, phonics, and morphology. So that was really exciting. We had one third grade teacher attend another summer institute. It was a science, climate change science summer institute. They actually went out. The first day was out at Abbott's Lagoon. It was a hands-on experience, and then it was followed by a couple days of virtual learning. And so she was really excited about some of the takeaways, and brought some of those things to her team, to find opportunities for her to share with the third grade team. During our work week, we had 2 different site-based professional development, and One was continuing our work around literacy. And so the TK through 2 got to participate in a phonics workshop with Christy Martinez, who is now working with MCOE, and she's a former literacy coach and an elementary school teacher with the Work for Madera School District. And she was also part of the Summer Institute. She was one of the presenters there as well. So it was a really big hit. Teachers were, the purpose of it was, I'll just read you this line. Our brains are wired for speaking, not reading. That is based on science and research. So making meaning is the ultimate goal of reading. And so we focused on the essential elements of explicit systematic phonics instruction for the TK2 workshop. And we focused on explicit systematic morphology instruction for the 3rd and 4th grade workshop. Morphology is all about breaking down words and understanding word parts have meanings, and how when we learn these meanings, it helps us to understand new words that we come across. So teachers left those workshops inspired and ready to start new strategies. So we're just really excited about all of this work that we're taking on this year. And we'll also continue our partnership with Christy Martinez. She's going to facilitate what she calls learning labs. And we've sent out surveys to our staff to identify topics that they'll be interested in for these learning labs as we continue this work, moving us more towards a structured literacy approach. The other PD that we had as a staff, and both of these professional developments, as Gretchen said, we invited and encouraged our paraprofessionals to attend. And so they either attended the phonics workshop or the morphology, and then they all attended this next training, which we did, which is called the Toolbox Project, which is a social emotional learning program. And I actually didn't realize until they came to present that the presenter is the owner and founder of this program. He was originally from Marin County, lives in Sonoma now, and he and his daughter run the Toolbox Project. And the idea is there's these 12 tools, and so the whole thing is based on an analogy of like wood shop and building things. And so so there's 12 tools. The first tool is the breathing tool, and so we are going to. We learned about the different tools. We learned about the program and the why behind it. And I tell you, I had teachers who have been teaching for a very long time come up to me afterward and say that was incredible, and this is just what we needed as a school and as a community. I'll be highlighting the tools as we roll them out. We're going to have set a calendar so that we're all teaching the same tools for a couple of weeks. We'll focus on the breathing tool, and then the next 2 weeks we'll roll out the next one. And there's a parent connection piece, so there's activities that people can do at home as well, just so we have this common language. And tool, lanyards with multiple tools, so you're out on the yard, the student is struggling or having a tricky moment. The idea is you can, hey, which tool do we think might help us in this situation? And it gives them ownership and agency in that. So very excited about that. And one reminder that Mark Collin, the founder, gave us was that implementing the Toolbox Project is a marathon, not a sprint. So we get to the end of the school year, we don't all know all 12 tools, but we're not able to, recite them and use them consistently, that this is something that will build over time. So I'm going to keep that top of mind. The other kind of highlight is around math. So we're doing, as you know, a math pilot. I've been in the newsletter and sent out a math pilot information letter to the whole community. And so we're super excited about that. Lindsay Zerzan has taken the lead on that, and she's our math curriculum chair this year. And so the focus of that committee in the fall is all around the pilot. And then we also are implementing a new math intervention curriculum. It's called Do the Math. And so 2 teachers at each grade level went through training for Do the Math, and we had purchased materials for them to use. And so the idea is that during our win time, we will have the ability to implement this math intervention curriculum across the grade level, because the grade level share this win time. So super excited. I think everybody is feeling inspired and energized, and I look forward to updates on all these great things.
Yeah. Quick question on the toolbox thing. You said it's a marathon. Is that something you'll revisit at the beginning of next year? Or is that gonna be a multi-year act?
I mean, now that we've purchased, so now that we've been trained, and each teacher got a bunch of things, including the teacher manual and guide. There are a few things that are consumable, but we got posters, we got lanyards, so there might be some ongoing like replacement costs for the new teachers, but and we have additional training that's coming. So this initial training was a 2.5-hour training.
Okay.
And then they, as part of our package with them, we get another follow-up training. I think it's an hour, it might be a little bit longer. And so we haven't scheduled that yet. They want us to start using it, and then they'll come back. So yeah, so we'll just continue using it, but every year we would reintroduce all the tools.
Right. But we'll do that internally.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question. First, I'm so glad that the school year's going so well for you and your team. Regarding the math pilot, if I understood the email correctly, there's 3 different programs, correct, that the teams will be piloting. And so is the goal that math committee will then assess those 3 pilots and then determine which one Basage will use? And is that for next school year then?
Well, we would come to you with that.
Right.
And so that is the idea. So part of the process is you using a rubric that Lindsay worked on creating with some partners at Kent, actually Bill Klima and Lindsay worked hard on this rubric. And so the rubric is consistent. It'll be the same rubric that we use to evaluate each of these 3 different programs. And so the pilot committee will be meeting regularly and briefing regularly on how things are going in these different programs, and using the rubric to assess that.
Okay.
And the hope is that then that one of these 3 would bubble up as like, this is something that we really are excited about, that we would recommend implementing, and then we would bring that forward.
Got it.
I mean, it's possible that we don't like any
Right.
of the 3 of them.
Right.
But
Hopefully one
that's
of
the
them.
idea.
Okay. And then with the new, with the intervention program, are we doing mathnasium, or is that on hold now?
It's
Okay.
on hold in the sense that we knew we didn't want to start the year with it. And so I can see a possibility that we would want to use it alongside the program that we're doing, because they have different focuses. So mathnasium really focused on those foundational skills, and this Do the Math is more about helping students understand what strategy makes the most sense for the problem that's in front of them. So being able to break down and understand the problem and the vocabulary and the math vocabulary involved in solving the problem. So they have a little bit of a different focus. So we're kind of gonna wait and see what our data shows us that our kids need. And if our data starts showing us that there is a need for mathnasium, then we'll have that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Because the data that came out of mathnasium,
Yeah, was good. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Hey, it's great to see everybody this evening. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. That one's been going to basic. Congratulations on opening those there. I'd love to start with just a brief story. As you may recall, we often emphasize the importance of connection before content with our middle school students and the importance of relationships in our classrooms. And it's even more beautiful when teachers can connect through the content. So I was in a math classroom today, and the teacher happens to be an open water swimmer who goes swimming in the San Francisco Bay with some of their colleagues from Kent. And she was sharing this with her students and asking the students about who else in the class was swimming. And then they watched this short video about this woman who was going for the free diving world record, which free diving is no scuba gear, no oxygen tanks, going to incredible depths to try to go as deep as you possibly can, and then surface again, having not passed. I mean, it's situation. Apparently, as you like come up to the surface, it's not uncommon to like incredible feat. So I was just like there with the students, hanging on her every word, and this was her strategy to introduce to this 5th to 7th graders, or reintroduce, I would say, the concept of absolute value. We're talking about like starting at the surface or zero altitude, being able to go away from that, talking about as that swimmer returned, was there kind of a zero sum distance, or was there a distance in which that swimmer had gone away and then returned? So anyway, I was just thinking, oh, I see what you did there. There's like this opportunity to connect and bring a part of oneself into the classroom. And then that lasting story and memory and imagery, and we're all holding our breath to see how long we could go down. I mean, everybody's just like this like full sensory experience in the class that eventually leads to absolute value. And you can guess where the lesson goes from there with a variety of ways to practice that concept. But I just thought that was a really beautiful example of that concept of connection before content, and then even weaving the content into that connection. And the students felt like they knew their teacher better, the teachers getting to know their students, content area is tied to that relationship, and then they're off and running, working on the mathematics. So just one example of many of the types of things that are happening across our classrooms in this school district. Really excited to just report a smooth and successful opening of school here at Kent. It's been a really busy few weeks of just building anticipation and excitement. The first students on our campus were actually our 8th grade web leaders. We have 31 of our web leaders, including who's done a fantastic job, by the way. But these 8th graders sacrificed a part of their summer to come and do some training with us about what it means to be a student leader and to really start to build a toolbox of strategies, as well as just an inspiration to lead and to be positive role models on our campus. So we had a great afternoon with our web leaders, which was immediately followed the next morning by welcoming all of our new 5th graders, as well as our new students to Kent. And so I wanted to share those same numbers that Maria had shared. We have 6 newcomer English language learners at our school across the 4 grades. And it's been incredible to get to know them and their families, and teachers using a variety of strategies to make learning accessible in their classrooms. One of our teachers just discovered a strategy using PowerPoint to do simultaneous translation of everything she's saying in class into Spanish, closed caption subtitle Spanish on the display in her room. So for a student who's coming in literate in their first language, that just opens up accessibility to content. So I mean, really cool ideas like that we're all, trying to learn from. Because, a middle schooler new to the language has a lot to learn in a short period of time. So anything we can do to make it accessible is super powerful for them. We also have 28 new students again, which includes 5 new 5th graders. I mean, they're all new, but 5 new to that class. 10 new 6th graders, 7 7th graders, and 6 8th graders. And by this time in the Kent School District experience, students are really excited to have new students. So it's about new families come in that kids are anxious in the enrollment process. We say, you're going to be like the star on campus.
Totally.
You know, when you arrive and feel like you don't know anybody, everybody's gonna be like vying for your attention and friendship. Because they've kind of got to know this peer group
Yeah.
over, you know, the years and years
Yeah.
that they've been together. So, it's been great to welcome all of those new students, many of whom came to our orientation, the day before school, as well as our fifth graders. And we had just a really positive experience with our web leaders, orienting them to our campus and to creating just a positive feeling among the students that they prepared to join us. During the first day of school, we did have two assemblies that Wendy and I had facilitated together. I didn't know during the first one that the health inspector. I mean, it's a great story because everything was fine, but this is the first day of school with a brand new school lunch program, a brand new food service assistant. And to pass with flying colors was, you know, we haven't talked about what would have happened. Of course, we were have to have that part.
Right.
But the assembly went off without it. One of the things we really focused on, we're trying to build up our web leaders to really hold this this honored position at our school. And one of the things that Wendy and I crafted was just a way to introduce this concept of belonging, where web stands for where everyone belongs, and the role of the web leader is to be a role model, a student leader who can create a climate on the campus where all students feel that they belong. And so we actually used words that the web leaders had shared with us as part of the orientation to reflect to some of the younger kids about how our eighth graders feel about a sense of belonging in a community like a school. And through that, we were able to weave some of the values that Wendy and I are really emphasizing with our faculty and with our students, this concept that we reach high, we work hard, and we're kind to each other. And really seeing that when you create a climate in which it feels that way, we can emphasize the importance of challenging and rigorous academics, of work habits that we're all striving to develop that will help us be successful with those academic endeavors, and then just the power of receiving and giving kindness and how that feels in the community. And so we're looking for all opportunities to emphasize those concepts across this year. To a little bit more technical event, on Friday of last week, we distributed our one-to-one technology to students. And I just wanted to give a specific plug to Kentfield Invest in Kids. Their Fund a Need last year funded many, many new devices. I was in 8th grade classrooms today where a few students pointed out how proud they were of their brand new books. And the charger works so much better. Look at this, and they're showing me all the things. And I immediately thought of Kick. That was an incredible contribution to our school. All 6th and 8th graders got brand new devices. Our 7th graders continued with the ones that they had last year. And I just can't speak highly enough of the one-to-one program. The children are really taking care of their devices because they feel like it belongs to them, which it really does over the course of the year. So we had a smooth distribution of those devices, and they're already in use in their classrooms, you know, where teachers get to continue their instruction without really missing a beat of gathering a computer card or taking computers off the wall. That the children have them just like they would have a pencil or a notebook. A few activities are starting soon. Our student leadership board will have representatives from each grade level. It's our version of student council here at Penn. Applications are open now. Many students have already approached Wendy about clubs that they're envisioning to have run this year. So we're looking forward to just a really extensive and varied opportunity for students to be in student-generated clubs. We have a fall musical, which is also accepting registrations right now. That's Bye Bye Birdie, the youth edition. And so there will be auditions in September 8th. Now, last year, Lion King was kind of in the winter, so this will be different for us to do this show right out of the gate in the school year. But kids are really excited about participating. That's another area of our work that we can really look to support. And we have after-school athletics, which are also starting now. So flag football and volleyball and cross country. Cross country just had their first practice today. So it's really, you know, we get back in session and we just get working with all of these different varied opportunities for our students. And then on the student side of the fence, I'd conclude by just saying we're gearing up for our first administration of the math growth assessment. And you might say, wow, that's what we got feedback from teachers last year that we really wanted to have this as a baseline assessment for our students. So this is an assessment in reading and mathematics. We do have their scores from past in the spring. Yet it's harder to develop implications for instruction from tasks. It's much more of a summative measure where math growth is formative. And so we have a number of data points to consider from all of our continuing students, but it felt most appropriate to administer early so their current teachers get that information and plan for instruction going forward. And so that will be the week after next week. And we'll be conducting that assessment in their English classes and in their math classes. I would like to touch on some of the professional development that we had the opportunity to participate in at Kent. Wendy and I went to the group that Maria and and definitely did see applicability to actually cross department here at Kent. We have some interesting ideas of how we can really look at the word work and vocabulary development. The morphology piece that she was talking about in third and fourth grade is absolutely relevant in fifth grade as well. And what our English teachers are looking at is that vocabulary development, word attack, word recognition. Our current program does a strong job at building comprehension skills, and we're looking at folding in some of the word work as well in the fifth to eighth grade program. We started back with our faculty at Kent doing some work around collaboration and team building. We have a number of new Kent teachers over the last 2 years, and it really feels like we've had a bit of a turnover with the faculty, some longtime teachers that have retired over the past 2 years. So we have new people in basically every department. And so we took an opportunity to do some team building, and we did a design challenge that Raquel had referenced and kind of wove into that some of the language that we're using around proficiency scales and work habits specifically around collaboration. We also take an opportunity that first day to look at some of the key actions in our CIPSA plan, which ended up being a really powerful experience to just increase transparency around the different actions that we're going to be taking this year and just get staff feedback on that very first day back. And so people had the opportunity to share their hopes and dreams, their concerns and fears, and ideas that they have about these different actions that we're taking, which was really illuminating from an administrative standpoint to see where we needed to give some attention to help people feel that they were equipped to succeed with specific actions, and where faculty members that we may not have expected would have ideas of things that we could do. For example, going into this year, we're having grade level assemblies almost every single week. One assembly per grade level per X semester. So 4 out of the 6 weeks we're doing an assembly on Friday. One of them that we're going to do with the fifth graders is going to be a reconnect with their 8th grade web leaders, and that's going to happen actually next Friday, the 8th. So it's just an example of an idea of how can we use some of these structures that came out of the CIPSA to then maximize some of these areas that we're working on together. On Friday of the work week, that was Friday the 18th, we had a professional developer from Marzano Research Group. Her name is Shelley Geese. And she came to Kent after numerous sessions with Jill, our standards-based grading person, Joe Klima, myself, and Wendy, setting up for what our faculty really needs in the second year of implementation of standards-based learning and feedback. And so we spent the entire day with Shelley on Friday really digging into the purpose and use and implementation of proficiency scales, which is again the language that we provide students, especially students, and also their families, with how students are progressing towards proficiency on essential standards in each class. So teachers have the opportunity to really learn about some of the key language, what Marzano had learned through their research about what works best in classrooms, and then to start doing some editing and revising and recreation of some of the tools that teachers were going to be using to start the year. So we had a really productive day with Shelley. I heard from a number of teachers it was one of the more powerful professional development sessions they've had at just the right time when they needed it. You know, the suggestion that we weren't quite ready for this level of depth last year, but we're ready for it now. And it's a good thing because we have Shelley coming back actually 3 additional this year. She'll be coming for the October 13th Professional Development Day to continue to work on proficiency scales as well as assessment in a standards-based learning environment. And then she's going to come for 2 embedded coaching days in February, where she's going to be meeting with specific departments, doing some work in classrooms, having some release time for teachers, and really trying to just take our feedback practices to the next level. Our grade levels and curriculum teams had opportunities to connect across that work week. It was a really exemplary example of our ed specialist team and our counseling team providing information to grade level teams about the students that they were about to receive. We had meetings all afternoon in this very space where teachers got so much information about students, accommodations they might have, services they might have, just any information they might need to successfully welcome the student into their class. And Wendy and I reflected after, it's just a really exceptional practice to ensure that teachers know something about their children before they come in, which just really avoids a lot of the unnecessary challenges when that information isn't shared. So thankful to have that. And I would also like to highlight that our 0 period classes started yesterday, which is the first for us at Kent. These 0 period intervention classes have now been a part of our school for a number of years. And this year, Wendy and I had made the goal that we were going to have all of the eligibility set prior to the summer so that students could be invited and start as early on as possible. And so we have before school reading classes in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. We have before school math classes in 6th and 7th. And students started coming yesterday morning, Monday morning, second week of school. They're here at 7:45, getting some intervention support in the subjects that they most need. And special kudos to Wendy. She even coordinated with Jackson to make sure that breakfast was put in bins for each of those classes the day before. So a student can come and get the breakfast bins. The students have breakfast while they're doing their intervention. They write their name down. It all gets logged in the system. And they have access to food as well as learning all before school starts. So it's those types of systems that take a lot of forethought and planning, but maximize the time that we have with kids here. And so I just really, really sincerely appreciate that. And I'll close by just saying we have back to school night on Thursday this evening. I hope to see everybody who has any connection to Kent here to celebrate this incredible launch to school, the kids that we have here, and the 180 days ahead of learning. So happy to answer any questions that people may have. And
I'll just say thank you for pointing out the thing about the food in the early morning. That's super great. And I'm sure that's going to improve attendance and it's going to improve learning and all that. So that's really super important. So thank you for that. What you're not piloting any new curriculum or changes at Kent this year, are you?
So we are participating in the pilot of elementary materials for 5th grade.
Okay.
So you may recall when we went through the pilot process in 2019 and 2020, it was actually the February 2020 meeting where the board approved our purchase of Big Ideas, which was the last board meeting before the world changed. And the 5th grade did not participate in that pilot. So now fast forward to this time, and the 5th grade is participating in the K-5 pilot.
Okay.
And so we are very much invested, and we'll certainly have some decision points along the way. It is an interesting arrangement that we have a K-5 curriculum and a 6-8 curriculum, and it makes sense that an elementary grade would continue to participate with this. And so I really look forward to engaging as much as I can and our 5th grade participating teachers have done the same.
Good. Okay. And that
One of the things, piloting is the elementary version.
Big Ideas. Yeah, I saw that.
So that was almost to the top that it's possible that it's the same.
Got it. Any other questions or comments?
Just one small one. Just I know the musical or play is happening early. Is there going to be another one in the second half of the year, or is this one going to be it for the entire year?
This is going to be it as that from what we know as of now. Okay. So Kate supported the school in having the Lion King last year, and supported the school in having Bye Bye Birdie this year. The scheduling was about the availability of the actress, choreographer, producer who's going to be putting it on. The options were really late in the spring, which actually overlapped with CASP and some end of year activities, or the fall. So we opted for the fall. And so the shows are going to be in November. So it's starting now, but it's still a ways until the shows are happening.
Thank you. Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent items, looking at section J of your agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the consent.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin. Any discussion, anything changing here? Any questions from anyone about any of the consent items? Any questions from Silver? All those in favor of approving J?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The consent items are adopted as written. That takes us all the way to our board break. Does that feel like the right time for that?
Do we feel like we need a break or should we just keep going through?
I'm ready.
I feel fine. Let's keep
Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, Silver, okay to keep going?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item L, discussion action agenda. The item number L1, facilities, LCAP, strategic plan line goal 3. Action, consider ratification of the service agreement between Kentfield School District and KQA for the 23-24 school year for not to exceed $59,984. The rationale is in front of you. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin, any discussion?
This is just to support the anticipation of the generators, the industrial generators for both school sites. So appreciate the support from the board.
Any questions on the generator project?
Good question.
Yep.
What funding source is it again?
This would be through our OPSC funding that we're utilizing.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's 1.6.
That's right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, so this is all
Special.
outside of the general.
that's
fund,
right.
Not
Okay,
general.
thank you.
And any issues with timing or schedule or anything like that, or just
No, we just,
proceeding?
we anticipate that the generator project in particular, probably not gonna happen. The earliest would be February.
Okay.
It's just much more invasive than we anticipated, but we're
Right.
still moving forward.
Good, I think that's smart.
Great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item L1A is accepted as written and proposed. L2, action, consider the approval of the Kentville School District employee-related 23-24 inter-district transfer. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin. The rationale for this employee-related inter-district transfer is shown here. Any discussion?
No, just
Ready to
right-
vote? Okay, and staff's recommending, I mean, we're recommending going
Of
ahead.
course, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No, the employee-related inter-district transfer is approved as presented. Item B. 2B. Consider approval of the CDE interagency, the California Department of Education interagency agreement between Reed's Union School District and Kentfield School District for 23-24 food services. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin, discussion?
So the whole purpose of this agreement is that we are naming the Reed Union School District as our school food authorizer.
Right.
They are the ones that we submit our information related to the point of sale so that we can get the reimbursement, and then they would reimburse us for those dollars that are gathered from the state and federal government.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B is approved as presented. Consider the approval of Kentfield's item C, consider the approval of Kentfield's acceptance as a 23-24 AmeriCorps Fellow host site. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph, looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin, discussion?
So this was something that came up over the summer. So we received a notification that we as a school district could apply for a fellowship with AmeriCorps, which is a nonprofit organization to try to bring folks into school settings or service generated settings. And so we thought, well, let's just see, let's go ahead and apply. So we applied in July, and then we were notified in August that we were awarded 2 fellowships. And so, we're super excited to be awarded. Typically, they go for communities that might have a different demographic than the Kentfield School District, but obviously they had spots for us. So, so I've asked our teams, are they interested? They said yes. We still have not gone into the depths of like, what does it involve to have AmeriCorps fellows? But what we know is there are these informational sessions that will happen. What we know is the people that will come on board, we have 2 people that would cost the school district $10,000 per fellow, and they would be on site for a full day for the full duration of the school year. Their goal is really to support mentorship, classroom support, pro-social activities for students. And typically it's either college graduates, like recent college graduates, or people that are in school and have an interest in whatever field that they're working at. And the $10,000, I believe it's to subsidize a salary for those individuals. So it's kind of like having an intern, like we have intern counselors. We don't pay for those counselors, so that's a little bit different, but this is a situation in which we would fund. So I have not agreed to anything just yet. I think the first session is this Thursday that I'll be participating in. And then there's a subsequent session that I need to participate in September. And then they have you participate with them through the whole recruitment process. So they have a cadre of folks that they could bring on board for you. So, and just to know, I was an AmeriCorps fellow. And so I think Beth was an AmeriCorps fellow too. So I don't know, for any of you guys AmeriCorps fellows? So yeah, so I mean, I don't know anybody else in the county right now that has AmeriCorps fellows, but I'm super excited about this opportunity. So it's before you for consideration of approval.
Any discussion or questions?
Just one question. You mentioned kind of the recruitment process. Is there an opportunity for you and the staff to interview folks, or how does that work?
So the way I understand, based on what I read from them, there's these 2 sessions that talk about like operational, like we used our strategic plan and our LCAP and our SIPSET to help identify why this program could be fit for us. And then from there, we say, what are the kinds of activities we think would be plausible? So you heard the mention about the clubs. That's what came to our mind. Okay, so some pro-social activities like clubs that they could run, or activities at lunchtime that they could do, or be in those classrooms. So then what happens is they have, the way I understand it, is they have applicants that say, I'm interested in doing this kind of work. And so then you get to participate. That 3rd session that's not scheduled is where we would engage in that recruitment process.
Okay, got it. Right. But given the timeline, we'd expect these people, if we move ahead with it, to be in
October, November. Yeah.
Through the rest of the school year.
Through the rest of the school year, yeah.
Great. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C is accepted as written. Thank you. We are pulling item 3A, that inter-district transfer incoming. We are I think 3A.
We pulled A.
Right. All right. 3B, consider the approval of inter-district transfer request from Ross Valley School District into Kentfield School District for 23-24. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin, discussion.
So the practice has been in the school district is not to accept students from outside of our school district if they're not current students and continuing students. And that is really because we're a community funded district, and so there's not additional funds that we receive. So staff recommends to continue process.
Yeah, these are always difficult decisions to make. And I know that you've seen the paperwork that came along with this. Remember, in this situation, a vote of approval would approve this inter-district transfer coming into our district, and a nay would decline that. All those in favor? All those opposed? Nay. And the inter-district transfer request incoming from Ross Valley School District is declined. Item C, consider the approval inter-district transfer request from Kentfield School District into Larkspur Corte Madera School District for 23-24. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin. This is any discussion?
Student that would be continuing at the current school district that they have been attending, and so currently the school district has contingency has approved on contingency that this board would approve.
So this, in this situation, of course, a vote in support would allow for this interdistrict transfer out of our district into Larkspur, Corte Madera at the family's request. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The request C is granted. Consider the approval of interdistrict, item D, consider the approval of interdistrict transfer from Kentfield into Ross School District for 2023-24. Looking for a motion. So moved. Trustee Joseph looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin. This is a interdistrict transfer from Kentfield to Ross. Similar situation, continuation of the school that student currently attends at the parent's request. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The interdistrict transfer to Ross School District is approved.
And so just before we move on, I just want to call out, the policy committee did meet. Gosh, I don't remember now when we did, but maybe it was
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And we did look at the interdistrict transfer policy, and it is something that's going to come forward during a board workshop to talk more with the board about some options and some specific language to help with parameters related to when IDTs are approved or denied.
Good, great. Thank you for
process.
raising that, because that's been an important topic for us. Moving on to item E, we'll be going through these policies one at a time.
Yes.
This is all for first reading, is that correct?
These are all for first
Okay.
reading now.
Review Board Policy BP 4033, lactation accommodation, first reading. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph looking for a
Oh,
second.
we don't, so we
Oh,
don't.
we don't need
just
it.
for
No,
discussion.
first reading.
Okay.
Like, we're on a roll here.
And we don't, so we don't need to open it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just,
Okay.
just any questions, and we can share what the policy committee is, Silver, myself and Annie that came together to talk about these various policies, so. We're taking questions that the trustees may have. And it makes sense. So I can get a little bit of background.
Yeah,
So-
please.
Yeah.
So this is ultimately a new policy that's come from CSBA. It's just ensuring that if somebody has the needs for lactation accommodations, that we meet it. This is something that we would be doing. I think it's pretty typical, to be sure that our staff get what they need so that they can continue to, support their new child.
Yep.
So, it's pretty straightforward.
So we're not voting, we're just
No.
taking discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Item F, reviewing board policy BP 5141.5, mental health, first reading. Discussion.
This is also another new policy, and so there's a new assembly bill out that's around the mental health supports and services that are offered at school sites. We're pretty lucky here in Kentfield. We have a pretty robust staff that supports on the counseling front, school-based counseling, as well as our school psychologists. There's some specifics, things like we have to have certain posters up, and those have been provided specifically for 6th through 12th grade. And so this is just continuing to say that we are following this policy. I was asked, kind of what is our process? And so we utilize the MTSS process, multi-tier system of support, to be sure that we're addressing needs of students, not just academically, but also social emotionally. And you heard Maria mention today about our school counselor. And I got to be in a classroom and see her with kindergartners, just talking a little bit about their emotions that they have and what have you. So just starting early and just continuing to maintain that support across our school district.
And this is relevant to all grades, not just the 6th through 8th. Okay. Moving, any other points of discussion or questions?
I think the one thing I would just say is that, like, I read the poster thing and I was like, how effective is that? And should we really be thinking about, like, kids are on this, can we reach them here? Like, I'm not gonna write the policy, but it just feels like I don't know if we're gonna get the outcome that we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that we have available for kids. So we have the poster, we have information posted on our website.
Yeah.
We have QR codes on the ID cards. There's also information for
Okay.
children to access, specifically in the middle school level. There was new legislation around that a couple of years ago that was required. So I think those are all just kind of reactions of wanting to be sure resources are available for students. But I think the real kind of important piece that we need to be mindful of is, like, what are we doing in real time for kids, and how are we being mindful of noticing signs that may come forward related to students that may need some additional support. mental health. That's just where I'm happy to hear if any administrators want to share anything, but.
I mean, the poster is not going to solve the problem, but it may provide some language that somebody could use, or just a reminder that counselors are there. I think the real work is with the incredible staff that we have that, Maria had mentioned, that education. We have two really strong, experienced counselors at Kent that really work hard to get to know our kids and make them available for whatever they might need, academically, socially, behaviorally, mental health.
Any other questions on the mental health policy? Moving on to item G, reviewing the revision to board policy 4112.2 on certification.
So this is an update to the policy related to certification. This is for our certificated staff and just being sure that we're doing the appropriate steps if we have to apply for any kind of temporary permits and we bring the resolutions forward. You'll see at the September meeting, we will have a resolution speaking to any kind of permits that we'll have specialized for our current certificated staff.
Right, and we do have an annual review if we are out of alignment with that kind of thing, so we do see quite a lot of on that front. Moving on to item H, administrative regulation, AR 4112.2 certification. Oh, this is the AR related to that same board policy. Any
So
other?
this just gives them more specific actions that need to be taken.
And moving on to item I, revision to exhibit 4112.9 employee notifications, first reading.
So there's two exhibits in here, and they're both dealing with notifications. The
Okay,
first is around employee notifications and the second is around parent notifications. And there's just a specific language in the ed code about certain things that we need to be sure that we're notifying families and staff about on the annual basis. And so we follow those protocols. In this policy, I think the biggest piece was, are there certain things that are applicable or not applicable, i.e. if it might be about a high school age student access for A to G requirement, for example. And so those things, we can keep them in the policy, but they're not applicable to us because we don't serve that population of students or that many students. The same for staff items. So this is just keeping us up to date with being sure that we're following the correct notifications.
Okay. And it looks like J is the exhibit 5145.6 parent guardian notification. Similar thing, the AR. Any questions on that notifications? Silver, any questions on that?
No.
Okay, on K, review the revision to board policy 6174, education for English learners.
So this too, there's a board policy as well as an administrative regulation, and this is the update from the California School Boards Association. And it's just being sure that we're following the protocols required for our English language learners and that we are being sure that they're offered the appropriate services. We're following the timelines for testing, for assessments that are necessary. I've been in communication with our teams to be sure for the initial assessments and then notification about the spring assessments that were done. And then, we have staff at both sites actually now that are considered to be our EL coordinators to be sure that we're maintaining those compliance. We have our first ELAC meeting on September 5th and both the sites host ELAC meetings as well. So just being sure that we follow all these protocols.
Any questions or discussion on that? And moving on to item L, administrative regulation for the same 6174 education for English learners. Any questions on that? This is consistent with the discussion we just had. Moving on to, we'll see all these policies at our September meeting as well. For second reading. On human resources, item 4A, consider the approval of student teaching agreement between San Francisco State University and Kentfield School District from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2028. 5-year agreement. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
I got trustee Joseph looking for a second.
Second.
Trustee Irwin, discussion.
So this is just renewing our agreement with San Francisco State related to having interns, whether those be certificated staff, anybody that's working on some kind of certification. So it could also be for counselors, it could be for school nurse, any types of those that have.
Any change in this agreement versus the past? Substantial change.
This is the timeline.
Okay. And we're looking for a vote on this. You accept? Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The student agreement, teaching agreement, San Francisco State University is accepted as presented. We're moving on to governance and reports from the Board of Trustees.
Do we want to let our friends?
Provides an opportunity for people to finish their long days. You're welcome to stay.
Long night.
Guys, KSD
Yeah.
board meeting of
Exactly.
all time, at least since I've been on the board.
Yeah, very quick, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. guys.
And great job opening the schools, you guys.
Thank
Really.
you.
Congrats on that. And Cass, we're all lucky to have. Thank you.
It's not always like this, Cass. I'm just letting you know.
No,
Fair warning.
I gave her a much different time.
Yeah.
So the board. Thank you, Cass.
So highlights?
Well, I think, very successful back to school, very enthusiastic and optimistic comments from staff at both campuses and new staff and returning staff. I think that was all very positive.
I think the food program is a great one.
Mhm.
And I also really like the approach with the zero,
Yes.
the zero period at Kent is also a nice one, I thought.
Mhm.
Different.
Zero period, just starting so
That's
soon.
great, yeah.
Yeah, the early interventions or being able to
Yeah.
do the intervention work so early in the day. Yeah.
And actually that ties in, I'm glad you brought that up, because that ties into something I was gonna say was doing the MAP growth assessment early.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we can get this data, we can act, we
That's
can act
the
on it.
baseline.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's, and then even down to the thing of having the lunch go into the zero period class,
Oh, for sure.
maximizing community and connection.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we can really get as much time with these students as possible.
Yeah.
Much learning as possible.
Mhm.
I thought that was great. I really like the Portuguese speaker being introduced to the other Portuguese speaker.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder of using our diversity as a strength and an asset and finding ways to do that is really great. And integrating the new students through introduction to the students that were in those shoes the last year is just so smart and it makes sense, but it reminds us the importance of having administrators, administration, and everybody who stays with us,
Yes.
teachers, staff,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And
The retention rates.
Mhm.
retention rates,
Yeah.
Huge.
attract and retain.
Yeah.
So that's more a takeaway for us, I think,
Mhm.
but a reminder of everything that we talk about making this an attractive place to work and stay.
For sure.
I really appreciated Grant's mention of the success with the staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I know Maria didn't mention it, but she went over the truth results with her student. So, just really focusing on all of that data and really making things transparent for the staff to hold on to. And David and I hear that in the KTA meetings about, oh yeah, that's our goal through our success. So
Yep.
it's really good it's like this common thing people know what
Yeah.
we're focused on.
I love that.
And also having the common language of the toolbox going
Yes.
home to the parents.
Yes, yes.
You will hear
That's
this
huge.
from me again and again. I love the idea of the classroom to home connection and having the same language. It was certainly hugely valuable for me when the kids were younger, and
Yes.
I know it continues to be valuable for so many members of our community. So,
I would also think that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it, Silver.
I was just gonna say, I would also, thanks, Benny. I also really like the focus on mental health to the really young grades. And I shared with Annie and Raquel that when I was visiting the kindergartners, it was evident that the teachers were embedding that with all the children, like getting those skills in place from an SEL perspective from really young. So I just think it's something that the district should really celebrate because it's not something that we see on a national basis, and it's really in the DNA, and it's a beautiful thing to see firsthand.
yeah, I totally agree.
A small one, but the unifying the lunch to one time and then having, I think it was like 10 parents on campus during this whole time, because I think this is gonna help with
For sure.
the word on the street of what's actually going on. And so it sounds like it went really smooth and there was parents there to be part of it and to see it. I think it's a good thing.
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah.
And-
Well, and just can I say
Yeah.
one thing that Maria didn't highlight, but by doing that with the 45 minutes,
Yeah.
it had that change that flipped the para time. So what happens is those paras that instead of being yard supervisors, they're actually getting 45 minutes in the classroom in small group instruction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Instead of having 90 minutes, right? Because you have to
Right.
bless the kids.
Yeah.
Everybody's at the same time having that happen. So then that gives an
Wow.
additional amount of time that they get
Amazing.
support.
That's great.
Huge.
That's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have
Wow.
two, again, one of them, I was very excited to hear about the PTA speaker, Phyllis
Yeah.
Spiegel.
Oh, yeah.
She's amazing.
Good.
I have both of her books. I haven't read the second one yet. It came from Amazon like 3 days ago.
That was the middle
But I
school.
highly recommend you know, for everyone to go if you can. I mean, you might not have a kid in middle school just yet, but you will,
Yeah.
like way sooner than you think.
Yeah.
And it's really, she's fantastic. And then just the focus that they put on phonics and the science of reading over the summer. So I feel like we're on top of it and staying up with the latest research, and it's really happy to hear about that.
Lots of good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
So you'll have to winnow down from
Yeah.
a lot of
I know,
highlights, but
I know.
Yeah.
that's good. It's a high class problem.
Yes.
And anything like that, that increases the amount of time that kids are learning and amount of connection between home and school, it's all that community stuff and stitching together the fabric of the community to help when we need help.
Oh, for sure.
Hugely important. Future agenda items.
So at the September meeting, we will have an update on the LCAP. So we got the feedback from the county office, so there's just some adjustments, really minor.
Yeah.
And then we may have the books closed by then, not sure. So, but as Michael said, it's not until October that we'll have the unaudited actuals.
Right.
So the LCAP for sure. We also will have those resolutions I mentioned related to some of our temporary permits for some of our staff. And then we'll be introducing new staff and tenured staff. That'll be that'll be the showcase.
Okay.
day.
So I actually was not able to see Maria's email on the math, so if you don't mind forwarding that to me.
For sure.
But the reason I bring that up is that I was asked by a parent if there was gonna be information tonight about those math pilots, and I said it's not on the agenda, so I don't believe so, but I will,
Yeah.
you know, bring it up as a potential future discussion. I don't know when the right time to do that is, if it's,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to let you know that, and maybe that was before the email went out, I'm not sure, but there
Yeah,
is parent
yeah.
interest for sure.
I definitely think what she just announced in that same email. So I want to check how you're looking at it, because what's interesting is Silver was able to see it
And I saw it.
and David was able to see
And
it.
I-
That's what I thought, that
Yeah.
because you don't have a kid at basic, maybe you
Oh,
can't. And I asked
yeah.
Jim about that. So I'm trying to figure out what the
Okay.
issue
What's
is.
wrong with me?
Because
Yeah.
this continues to happen for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
she
can
does,
see like the from, the to,
But that's it.
and then there's no message in there.
Huh.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
very-
weird.
and she does address that fairly comprehensively in
She
there.
does,
I mean,
yeah.
there is,
Okay, so
there's
it's
names of the
possible
three
that-
different category, the three different
Yes.
pilot programs and timelines
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll answer some of it, and maybe we can just I think we'll probably be revisiting that at all of our meetings,
Yeah.
hearing about how it's going.
So I think she has her first principal chat in September, and so just there's a lot of new happening over at Basic between the toolbox, the pilot, the literacy. So she has a lot of really heavy topics that will need to be addressed during the principal
Right.
chats. And then we can think about when we can have some presentations here at the board level for those, and we can set aside the.
Great.
This is probably for board governance meeting, but just like, do we just continue on with our committees from last year? Are we gonna reassign them, or what are we gonna do about that?
So what happens is we reorganize in December. That's when the
Oh, December.
reorganization meeting
Okay.
happens. We don't have an election this year, so typically at that time is when you would swear in a new board member potentially, and then we figure out who's gonna hold the role of president and of clerk or a vice chair. And that's when we also change up committees if people choose
Okay.
to, and or grade levels. But right now, everything keeps status
Keeps
quo
the-
until
okay.
that organization meeting happens in December. So-
Actually, oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
No, I think I'm jumping ahead. I was gonna say, I actually do have a report from TK,
Oh.
but I think I'm
Um,
jumping ahead,
Good.
so.
I was just gonna say, so future agenda items. So I shared with you all this schedule for our board meetings, and at the bottom of it, it also listed workshops. So our first workshop is this Friday. I did not send the invites, but Beth and I told Beth, hold on sending them. I wanted to talk with you all today, but are we good still having that on Friday from 12 to 3? Does that work for folks? I know Silver's not able to make it.
Okay.
But I wanted to see if the rest of the board.
Is Friday an early release day? That's the
It
only
is an
problem
early
for me.
release day
Oh,
for
okay.
Kent, it is.
for Kent.
Oh.
Do you mind if I just check with Nick and then get back to you? I
Yeah,
just wanna
that's
make
fine.
Sure, like.
We can push it out. I
somebody's,
don't have a
like,
problem with that.
supervising, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Are you?
I'm good,
You're
yeah,
good?
it's on
Okay.
it's in my calendar.
It's in my
so,
calendar.
Yeah.
Okay,
Same.
so why don't you check and let us know, and if it can work, and it's really the setting the direction.
Right.
one. So I'll follow up with Amy and David on the agenda. It'll be a very open agenda. Lunch will be provided,
Okay.
and if we have it, and it will be in the
Dio.
The
DO.
deal.
in the
Okay.
conference.
Okay. all
I
right.
think I'm like 80%. I just need to
Oh, yeah,
actually check,
confirm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay,
Um. And remember that at the next meeting, and we'll talk about this at governance, we'll be talking about meeting modality
Mhm.
and the use of technology for
Right.
access. Board of Trustees, we have a report.
Okay.
Kari, you have a report?
I do. Okay, so from third grade, Katie Colwell and Andrea Living Good are still my contacts. They're building classroom community, completing fun, getting to know you activities. Third graders are excited to learn cursive, multiplication, and to be big buddies this year. I remember that was the most exciting thing for Jillian to feel like one of the big kids. You know, you guys have third graders, right? We're excited to start teaching the new toolkit social emotional program. And then from Amber for TK, building community, learning routines, meeting teachers, and getting to know the campus. Our numbers are up from last year with 32 students and perhaps 2 more joining later in the school year. That's what I have.
Benny, any reports or comments?
Not from, I was at the kindergarten open.
The TKK one?
Yeah,
Yep.
that was fun. You could tell like parents that are there for the first time versus like their second kid. There was a lot of questions, but it was good. Very excited parents.
Yeah.
And yeah, kindergartners are cute. And PKs are so cute,
They
just like.
are.
I went to the first day and it was just like, this is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
First day going into TK.
Yeah, kindergarten, I had
Okay.
kindergarten, yeah. So just being there with all the parents and just, yeah, it was a big event.
That's great.
so I have to say the story just because you're mentioning the kindergartners. So I was I went to visit all the kindergartens today. And so I was in one class and Sarah was doing her counseling lesson and a little boy had his hand up. And she said, okay, I'll take questions. Do you guys know what a question is? And I had no idea what a question is, but you know, she was talking about a question or a comment and a story. And the little boy took his hand and she's like, okay, so you have a question for me. So, and like 5 other kids, she's like, okay, what's your question? He's like, are you a mom? It was just like nothing to do with what she was talking about, but he was like, are you a mom? And it was very cute. So kindergarten are very cute.
Yeah.
Okay. Silver, anything to report? From
I
grade-
did not. I'm sorry. I was part of the policy committee, but that was it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for doing that. We went through a lot of stuff and it's important work to cover and
Yeah.
having done that, it's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
So I did a bunch of the back to school stuff. I did the like staff return. I did the new families. I'll be at both back to school nights this week. You know, anytime I get a chance to speak to everybody, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be driving home a little bit about community and attendance and prioritizing time in class. I mean, we heard so much about that tonight about the teachers front end loading everything and really hitting the ground running just so we don't waste a minute.
Yeah.
And so I think people need to remember, I mean, life will intervene, but if you can prioritize having your kid in class, it's going to strengthen their experience in our community. So you'll hear that from me. I have not done my 1 and 2 things yet, but I look
I was
forward to
also,
doing that.
just telling David, I saw him at the Basic back to school coffee, but there have been some articles recently showing data on how attendance affects test scores.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so for our high achieving, you know, or highly driven,
Aspiration, yeah.
population, maybe that's a point we could hit
Yeah.
on as well.
Very true.
We're meeting tomorrow as an admin team, and so you may have seen in the newsletter, so I did have a little blurb about just we are hitting on this year, and we're gonna have a standalone message that goes out that speaks to what are the thresholds and what you would expect from us related to letters, phone calls, conferences, school attendance review board meetings. So we want to have a unified front about it.
And
So
the impact on your children.
yeah, it has a direct impact. So
And I really like the language that you had in the newsletter. I forget there was one sentence that really stood out to me. So
Yeah.
I appreciated that. Thank you. And Annie, anything to report?
I heard from Julie Gallagher yesterday about visiting 8th grade, so I'll do that. You know, I don't know, I never got in touch with the 7th grade.
from last year.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was last year. It might have been
Okay.
Myra Anderson.
Oh, yeah, I did visit Myra last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
but anyways, I need to get in touch with the 7th grade coordinator.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's probably Myra again.
okay, I'll reach out to her. And then
I will send a follow-up so you guys all know who the GLCs
Oh,
are.
great.
Good.
That would be
Highlight
helpful.
it because that could help.
Yes,
Because it could have changed.
and that's it.
Pertinent dates, which is the last piece of paper in your packet. So Basic back to school tomorrow, Kent back to school on Thursday. Looking at the workshop for Friday. And Labor Day, and then we're right back to school board meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Next
is it,
meeting's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's gonna come up
Yeah,
rapid.
it's really, yeah,
So,
But then we're on our second Tuesday.
that's right,
Schedule
exactly,
pretty
yeah.
quickly.
Did you guys realize for December that our winter recess is right before Christmas?
the night that it built, that's hard when we're in it,
Yeah,
but what's nice about it is we have that week out.
that's right, that's
So
right.
Oh, I see.
Feels better on that. end.
Yeah.
We always, it's like every 5 years it ends up like,
Oh,
Because Christmas is on like the Monday.
something like
I
that,
guess we
yeah.
depend on the
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah.
and it is kind of countywide, so we're not an outlier.
Oh, okay, okay, that's good, that's good.
Okay, anything missing from here? Anything people thinking about?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think Silver, anything?
Do we, sorry, I forgot just because I just thought of it right now, because I drove by it yesterday. Do we need to bring just like a check-in on Project Home Key?
Oh,
Yeah,
so I have
right?
an update on Home Key. I'm actually touring the facility on Wednesday.
Are you?
Wow.
Wow.
And they're starting to populate, maybe I'll know so much more at the next meeting,
Okay.
but they're starting to populate,
Okay.
September 11th, and they will be fully populated by November 7th.
Yeah.
People coming in through the coordinated entry system and so on and so forth. We did have a useful quarterly, establishment of a quarterly stakeholder group that I'm part of, that'll have its meetings quarterly starting at the end of September, I believe. And the public safety agencies have committed to a certain flow of data, which I think is going to be super helpful. So I'll know a lot more for September. I don't know if we want
I
to
think
agendize it. Maybe I can talk about it during my committee time.
Yeah.
I'm scheduled for that Wednesday.
Wednesday too.
As well.
Okay.
I'm pretty certain I have it on my calendar. And I'm glad you're at that quarterly meeting because I was invited, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
attend.
Okay. All right.
Debrief meeting.
Oh,
notes.
debrief meeting norms, which is how we think it went. Just remembering from last year.
Yeah, I think I think
Great.
everything went fine.
Mhm.
The big thing I want to ask people about is you may have noted the agendas look different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, yeah.
So it's
more
a lot
detailed.
longer because all the rationales that used to be separate attachments are embedded in. The
Yeah.
system's built that way. And it's actually built so that board members could actually go into.
Right, and just see, I
So-
like
I
it
like it.
this way.
Yeah.
Okay,
Me
good,
too.
good,
Yeah,
good,
too.
good.
It's a lot
Yeah,
easier
so-
because you're not,
And
you
yeah,
know,
going
doing
back and
this.
forth.
back and
Beth
forth.
is the
Yeah.
one that's like, come on, we need
Yeah.
to like.
Yeah.
bring
Thank you,
it back.
Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
I've
So-
just liked
Great
that,
idea.
yeah.
It's one
And it
less
helps me
thing.
track, like, even in
Yes.
this meeting,
Yeah.
right?
What's
Like, it helped
going
me
on,
track, yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Okay, so then that's just a change. Wanted to be sure people
great.
notice that difference.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that, and we can talk about it in workshop, is the idea of board members seeing the stuff digitally too, because it's less stuff for us to print out as well.
That would be nice.
So anyways, just planting the seeds.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Think the meeting went really well.
Yeah, definitely.
Very
Change anything.
efficient, yes.
Closed through this meeting as of 6:50.
Great. Okay.
Thank you, Silver.
Thank you
Thank you
so.
See you soon.
Go back to the beach.
Bye.
Yeah.